Hello guys, welcome to Marian TV. This is Marian, and today guys we're coming live from KICC, for the African Climate Summit. Hello.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great.
If you can just introduce yourself.
My name is Fabrice Muchiga, and I come from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Yeah, and it's a pleasure to be here at the African Climate Summit. I think the experience is really, the summit is so overwhelming. So many people, different views, so many debates. But for me, I think the climate debate remain a debate of the elite, and I really look forward how this will trickle down to the ordinary citizen. What climate change means. It's true that we know the climate change by its consequences, but it's most important right now. We are living a hard time. Some of the most worst case scenario are already happening. And we owe to our people, to the population, to know, for example, what is happening, who are causing it, what are the ways in which we can solve this issue. So we keep talking, for example, that Africa, we suffer the most while we contribute the least. It's true, 4% of global emission is really very little, but we suffer from it. However, the people who pollute, they have the upper hand. And the question to me, the big question today is the big question around the money. When you look at the financial transaction, the money that comes from Africa to the north, Europe and US, in terms of the debt repayment and so on, it's around $2 trillion. But when you look at the financial commitment of paying the damage caused to climate change, paying the reparation, it's 100 billion, but only 10 billion has been paid already. So there is a massive imbalance that must be addressed. And politicians and leaders cannot do this alone. It's really the right time to come up with much more people who are really deeply engaged in this battle. It's not really only the leaders, it's you and I. It's really standing strong so that, number one, we cancel the debt that we are paying. That money can help on the adaptation. If we cancel the debt, we can have enough resources for the adaptation. If we cancel the debt, we can have enough money for the education and so on. That's what is really needed. My hope, for example, is that the solutions that comes from this summit here in Kenya, a solution really that would uphold the position of Africa. Yeah.
Okay, so probably for the people, I've been reading comments, and some people are saying that this is an issue because there are more problems that Africans are supposed to deal with. What can you tell them?
Yeah, it's true. I believe that everybody really have the rights to their own opinion. But more than ever, this is more than an issue. Some people do not feel it directly, but when you look at the underlying cause, what really pushed even the issues they are talking about. When you look at poverty, there's a massive connection between poverty and climate change. When you look, for example, in the pluviometry, the change in the raining season, what's happening, that affects food insecurity. We can no longer plant the crop. That affect the market. You need to take the bigger picture and see, for example, how climate change is the big thing affecting all of this. And it's really, people are really right. Because at the beginning, you really need to sort the very easy problems they're having, puts really the food on the table, and now we really have to think about what are the other issues. So we need to prioritize, and I echo the millions of voices of Africans who really feel that we should first address their own issues in education, the issues of food security. These are primary issues. Of course, the Western world has addressed that. You can't talk about climate change if you've not eaten. You need food on your table. You can't talk about climate change if you are not educated. First of all, even understanding the climate change, we're talking about decarbonization. I mean, you can do an experience. Go and ask 10 people randomly from Africa, what does decarbonization mean? Few people will tell you what it is. And then go now understand the carbon market. Some of us, for example, are extremely against the carbon market. We believe it's really a scam, there is a much bigger conversation to have, not the carbon market. But how many Africans are able to articulate, even to understand the idea behind the carbon market? The carbon market, this is really has been engineered by the West. We need African solutions. Beside the African solutions, we also need two things. Of course, the Africanization, but the second thing we need is justice. Justice is really not only going to the courts, it's about restorative justice. When you create a mess, when you pollute, you must restore. And justice is we need to be able to quantify the mess that you have done and say, okay, based on this mess, this is the amount you need to pay for the restoration. If we are not able to make clear measures of what the restoration will be like, it will be hard even to have a discussion on loss and damage. How can you, for example, quantify the amount of damage caused by climate change, by the pollution made in the United States? How can you make the United States pay? So, and then there's one issue, for example, when you see people who are paying for a big conference, it's hard, for example, to say, guys, come and pay again the bill for climate change. So there's really a big conversation to have, and I believe there's a need to Africanize the conversation. There are certain, when you have an issue in your family, you don't bring in other people. There are certain issues you need to address internally. And it's my hope that Africans will understand that there are certain things they need to address in-house between African and come up with one single position. And for that, it will need two things. Number one, financial independence. We need an African summit that is entirely founded by Africans and African states. That will give them the ability to decide what belongs to them. That's the first one. And the second, we need to value the local expertise of Africans. Once we do that, I really believe we'll come up with comprehensive ideas that address the real issues that African faces.
Okay, you're talking about having issues. When you have an issue like a family, you solve it as a family. But
Yeah.
because we've read some comments, people saying that are they really sure Africa is going to deal with this climate change issue? That they should leave it to the West so that we can adapt from them. So what can you tell them?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that people can still think like that today. Climate change is a global issue, and when we speak about the resources, these are global also assets that we have. And when you see the air we breathe, it's the same air we share. There's no air, for example, this air belongs to this part or that other part. And when this air gets polluted, we all suffer from it. So we can't let a just minor part of the globe take ownership into dealing with some of the issues. You can't allow people even who created the problem to come up with a solution. So you're giving them the right even to even mess up more. And so we're living a hard time, as I said before. We're facing times of geopolitics, for example, over climate change, over access to resources. Europe wants their share. The Americans, they want their share. So as China. So the question is, where will we be able to stand with our voice? The first thing is we must be on the table. Currently, we are on the menu. We've got to fight very hard to be on the table and make decisions that advance our agenda. And I echo, as I said before, the voice of millions of Africans who feel not concerned with the climate debate. I'm really, as well, extremely concerned, and I believe that we must find ways to Africanize the conversation, to find what it means in Swahili, in Lingala, in Chiluba, in African language, so that we understand. Because I believe once you're able to understand the issue, to understand the problem, you are one step ahead on how to tackle it. So we can no longer leave this to any cost. We need to get our hands, because at the end of the day, we the ones suffering the most. That gives us legitimacy to take action, to take a solution. And I really want to call everyone to take this matter seriously, get involved, get informed, get to know what it is, get to know what you can do. That's only the government, but it's your personal level. What is the simplest action you can take to address the issue? Because I really firmly believe that, one day we'll have to respond to this and ask ourselves, what have we done when this issue was there? Time is still there to take action, and I believe the collective will win.
Wow, Wow, thank you so much. Words of wisdom. You said right now we are on the menu, or right, we should be struggling hard to be on the table. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Last words.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful for this summit, and I really still hope that whatever we come up with here will be of good for the continent. And I really wish all the best to the COP28 that is coming, and yeah, all the best to Africa, the team Africa. And of course, we don't need to stop. There are so many things that are still, either done or either still some work to be done. I think there is really, it's work in progress. It will be really a fight of positioning ourselves to be really there on the table, to bring this voice forward and make sure that there is much more justice in the climate debate. Justice is something that is won, it's never served on the table. We've got to fight for it. It's your fight, my fight, it's all of us our fight.
Wow, thank you so much. We wish you a safe journey back to DRC.
Thank you.